Alright, this is a video to show how to install a new double-din head unit into a 2010 Subaru Legacy. I did lots of searching online, found a couple walkthroughs on some forums, but nothing in a video format on YouTube that I could find. I'm a novice, but figured it might be helpful to some other DIYers that might be interested in trying to do this project on their own. There's a lot of resources online that'll show you how to remove the dash components and things like that, and to actually unscrew the radio. Yeah, I can put those in the link in the description. When I started to run into issues is once I got to the radio and pulled it out. There are a few harnesses. This right here is going to be your main harness, your 20-pin harness, which is what you're going to connect your new harness into. I have a Pioneer harness. I got everything from Crutchfield, so they sent me the adapter that I need. That I'll show the splicing that needs to be done there to get everything to work. This is a secondary harness that at this point I don't believe is going to be used, and this was not addressed in anything I could find online or in the Crutchfield manual. After talking to Crutchfield, they said this is just a secondary ground wire. We don't need it. It can just be ignored, essentially. This cord here, which I had to actually cut, was for the antenna. Now, that wasn't really addressed anywhere, again, in the Crutchfield or anything I could find online, but what it is, it's actually the antenna cord, and it didn't have a harness like everything else. So after a lot of effort trying to pull it out, I decided I would just cut it, and I'd be able to figure it out if I needed to. I could always, strip the wires and join them again later. Turns out that the harness is actually way down inside part of the dashboard. So I haven't disconnected that yet, but I'm going to. But that was something that kind of confused me. Again, I'm not a car audio expert by any means. I haven't replaced the stereo in quite a while. So that was one of the first issues I came across. The next thing I saw was that in looking at the install instructions and the various wires on the harness, there were two wires that currently were not part of the Subaru Legacy harness. Now, I have a 2.5i, I believe it's a premium, does not have Bluetooth, does not have navigation, didn't have a touch screen. It was just a, standard single CD AM/FM radio, and that was it. So, the new harness has a parking brake sensor wire, which will disable certain menus, and also the DVD playing function whenever you're, in motion. And in order to activate the DVD player or certain menus, you'd have to be, your parking brake has to be activated. So that's one thing that needs to be tapped into. The other component is a reverse sensing wire. Now, the reverse sensing wire, which go over the wiring harness, is actually part of the wiring harness that we have here, and this is the harness adapter that we have from Crutchfield. It is also part of the Pioneer harness. I'm having trouble figuring out which one it was, but it is only needed if you have a backup camera. Since I'm not going to have a backup camera, I talked to Crutchfield, and they said you can essentially just leave that unused and tape it off and wrap it up in there in case I ever decide to add one. So this bright green long wire here is the parking brake sensor. So I talked to Crutchfield. They told me where the sensor is that I can tap into. It's on the driver's right knee. There's a panel there that we can tap into, so that'll be part of what I show. There's also ways, from what I understand, that we can bypass this and just trick the system into thinking that the parking brake is on. That's another option that I may try, but we'll see. So I will get the wiring harness all hooked up and kind of show that process. Alright, so I did some research and I made a call to Crutchfield about this parking brake line, and honestly, it's not worth the effort. I dug into the wiring harnesses down in the footwell on the driver's side. There's so many harnesses, I don't want to mess anything up. So I'm going to try a few things that I saw on YouTube where you just ground this wire or put it into an unused port on the wiring harness into one of the unused pins, and hopefully that'll trick it. If not, I'll figure something out. I don't really plan on using DVDs in the car at all on the front, front passenger area of the car, so I'm not that worried about it. So I'll give that a shot. But essentially all we're doing here is, this is the back of my Pioneer unit, and this is the main wiring harness that comes out. So these are all color-coded wires. Here's the wiring harness adapter that I got from Crutchfield. And essentially all we have to do is match up wire for wire on everything here. I have these butt connections. We'll essentially be able to crimp everything together. So I'll just crimp everything, and it should be pretty straightforward. One thing that I hadn't mentioned earlier in the video is I wanted to maintain my steering wheel controls. So I got this SWI RC unit from Pack Audio, and essentially, this plugs into the new head unit, and then this wiring harness, which I've already customized based on my car, will tap into the wiring harness with just a couple wires. There's two grounds, there's a white that carries the signal, and then there's the positive wire here. So should be pretty straightforward. There's a really good video that I'll put in the description that shows how to do this, and the instructions that you get from Pack Audio are pretty straightforward even for someone like me. So I didn't go through how I modified this harness for my car, but it'll that other video will give you a better idea, much clearer than what I could describe. Alright, so since I'm a little OCD and want to make sure I won't have any surprises in my wiring, what I did is I went through using the wiring adapter that I received, the connection page that's in the Pioneer install instructions, and then also all the wires that are on the back of the Pioneer unit. I took the parking brake, which is the green, and the reverse sensor, and I kind of taped those off and put them to the side, since those are kind of their own animal that I need to tackle. But then what I did is I wrote down the color of everything on the harness and everything coming out of Pioneer, and then I just kind of made sure that everything was covered. The only thing that I found that is different between the two is this yellow and black line that's on Pioneer but not on the harness. And then looking in the instructions, it says that's a mute wire, and essentially if you have anything where you want to be able to mute the system, that's what you would use. But since my harness doesn't have that, and nothing that I'm going to be using has a mute function from reading the connection page, then that can just be not connected to anything. So I'm just going to cap that, tape it off, have it out of the way. But now I'll get started with just crimping on all of the wires, which essentially is just going to be pulling off, if I can get this to focus, pulling off this extra little piece here that's on the end on either side, and then just connecting them together with these crimp pieces here. So I'll get that all done, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so I got all the connections hooked up on the harness. Got everything connected here, as you can see. Got the USB connection in, and I have the antenna hooked up. So now's the moment of truth. Just giving everything a test try before I connect everything officially. I also purchased a relay on Amazon to address the parking brake issue. I also have not hooked up the steering wheel controls yet, but I just want to give it a try, see that all my connections are good, and I'll fully install everything, and then in a couple days when the item comes from Amazon for the relay, I'll get that installed, show you how to do that too, but let's give this a try. Alright, so far so good. Alright, we are in business. Alright, great. As you can see, we are working. So let's give it a try and see if the radio, AM/FM radio, will work here. Switch it real quick. Alright, so if we go into mode, maybe we need to go to source here. Let's see what we got here.
So be excited for that. Last thing here,
Wonderful.
there is one, quote unquote backup running back that we really like this week, and it's Jacquizz Rodgers. And do you like Quiz better than D'Angelo and Blue and any 49ers fill-in or anything like that?
Yes, and the reason he's a backup is because, just to catch people up, is that Doug Martin has been suspended for 4 games, and Charles Sims is on injured reserve. So there's been 4 games this year where Rodgers has
you can see without the glare here, everything seems to be working. There will be certain things that will not work just because I don't have the parking brake issue addressed, but at least we are working. Sounds like I'm getting sound from all 4 corners, so it seems like my connections are good. And I'll get everything buttoned up, and we should be good to go. Alright, so I'm back working on the stereo install again, and I have my fix for the parking brake issue. So I bought this bypass piece on Amazon, and I'll include a link to the bypass. And all it is this black box with 3 wires coming off of it that essentially tricks the car into thinking that the parking brake is on. So the green wire is going to go to the green parking brake wire that's on the radio. The black wire needs to go into the same ground as the radio. It has to be a shared ground. And then the blue wire is going to go into this blue and white wire that is on the radio. So I'm going to get all that wired up, and then in theory we should be in business. Alright, so I finally got that relay wired up, and we're going to give it a shot. Car's on, in park, but previously I didn't have the parking brake line connected, so nothing would work, so we'll put in DVD. And there we go. You can see that, but it is running now. So, at least it is working. And that is it. So, I know this video probably was a little bit chunky, but at least it gives you an idea of how to put everything together, how to get it all wired up. I wish I'd had a better camera or been thinking of doing the video from the beginning, but there's not much in the way of videos on YouTube as far as how to install a double DIN video monitor into a Subaru Legacy of this model year. I ran into some things I didn't expect based on the information I have from Crutchfield, but hopefully this helps somebody out there. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll put links to all the parts and the various videos that I used to get to this point in the comments. Thanks.